So my premise with, or my personal experience with test-driven development and getting it sticky, I really haven't had trouble getting it into organizations. I've just had trouble sustaining it. And the challenge one of the challenges I've seen is around the fixtures. And it's not that fixtures are difficult to write or that they're time-consuming to write. I just find that they break up the cadence and the flow of what would be a healthy cycle. So if a tester is working and they want to change to a fixture, if they have to go over and ask a developer to help them, that can be good from a collaboration perspective. But in terms of delivering value consistently and allowing the smooth flow through perhaps that cycle, it's a barrier. So what I'm playing with is the notion of just getting away with looking at code that does acceptance testing without fixtures. So, and the way that I see that potentially happening, and this is just like, I'm just toying with this. This may be, some of you may be way further ahead in thinking than I am on this, so this may not make any sense, but I think most of my experience has been with fitness, and when fitness expresses tests, stores tests in a wiki format, that's cool. We should have user interfaces or ways of using those acceptance tests that are user-friendly or good affordances for what that person is trying to do. But I don't think that storage format is optimal because it causes problems like converting it to a movie might be difficult, or refactoring is a challenge. So my suggestion is that I believe that the way that tests should be stored is as code. And if they're stored as code, then they become executable and they can be reused, say perhaps repurposed to create a movie, or repurposed to run inside an Excel spreadsheet or inside a Word document or whatever. And it also makes them amenable to refactoring, because now we don't have to build refactoring tools inside our acceptance test frameworks. We can lean on the refactoring tools that are part of our existing IDEs. So that's kind of where I'm going with the tooling part of it. And there are two other sides to it that I've had a little brief experience with. One of them is when you have your system under test and you have your acceptance test and you have this fixture in the middle, what you really want is ubiquitous language that is consistent. And when you have this middle layer, it opens up the opportunity for mistranslation between the two. So I think conceptually, the closer we can get our system under test to the business language, the better off we are. And so I think by removing fixtures, we remove that ambiguity, and we actually impose. So I think ATDD can now push into our design. So rather than just talking about building the right thing, it can actually talk about building it right, because we can help our systems have the right domain interfaces. So I think it will help with overall with design. And finally, if that were true, then we can now also repurpose our tools to do things like, what if there's a new scenario coming up? Somebody can just write that as an example inside our acceptance test tool and say, and watch it behave and say, wow, I can do exploratory testing. That's a cool scenario. Capture it, save it, done. Now it becomes a potential regression test. So I think there are some other opportunities that could be leveraged by making fixtureless testing, and that's kind of what I'm